The night of the meal went by smoothly. There was chatter amongst everyone. I listened as they went on about their everyday occurrences. It was funny to hear them bickering at each other a few times. Occasionally, one of them would ask me a question or two about where I was from or what I did. By then, though, I didn't feel nervous anymore. After dinner, the Reverend dismissed everyone. On the way to my room, Victoria caught up with me. "Marcus," she called out. "I just wanted to apologize." "For what?" "For how Terrence acted in there." I chuckled. "That's fine. I was just happy everyone else didn't feel the same way." "Yes, well, Terrence has always been that way. Just sorry that he tried to call you out like that." "I'm fine," I said, blushing a little, trying to brush it off. "He did the same to you, too," I joked. We headed back upstairs, stopping when he arrived at my door. "Well, good night, Marcus. Today was truly a pleasure." "Good night," I replied. I watched her continue down the hallway, stopping a door on the left 3 away. She glanced my way when she saw that I was staring. Immediately, I snapped my head towards the door, unlocking it and closing it behind me. Inside, I smiled to myself. I quickly got dressed down to some shorts and a t-shirt and sat on my bed. I decided to look for any new messages on my phone. The screen lit up, revealing a surprising no-signal message. Of course, I thought, sarcastically. How could I forget? This place was a damn dead zone. I fell back, lying completely on my bed. Before I knew it, I was out. I awoke suddenly, blinded by light. Apparently, I'd forgotten to turn off the lamp on the desk. Last thing I needed was them to complain about wasting their electricity. I slumped over to my feet to turn it off, and after doing so, I caught sight of something outside. Below, I could make out my car in the moonlight. I could see that a clump of leaves had been blown over a lot of its roof. However, that's not what caught my attention. I could see a figure standing next to my car. Even with the moonlight, I could still not make out who it was. It did appear as if the figure was trying to enter into my car. I tried to focus my eyes better, but it still didn't help. I wanted to blame it on my tiredness, but my mind instantly thought about Terrence. Perhaps that jerk was still sore about dinner. He could have been trying to sabotage my car or something. I ran for my door, ripping it open, racing down the hall to the stairs. When I reached the lobby, I stopped. The entire lobby was dark. In the air, I could smell a hint of something burning, like candles. I noticed a thin line of light in the congregation room's double doors. Completely forgetting about my car, I made my way to the doors. I could hear the slight murmur of voices from inside as I got closer. I pressed my ear up against the door to get a better listen, but I couldn't make out what the voices were saying. I could hear one voice speaking out loud. When it did, the other voices would speak in unison in the same rhythm. It was clear that they were repeating the message of the lead one. The tone and manner they spoke sent a chill down my spine. It was clear this was the church conducting their worship upon whatever that horrid image was that I had seen earlier. I didn't understand how they could worship such a thing, but then I didn't know how any religion could worship anything. How could I judge them based on what they believed? Victoria was a prime example of someone good from it. When I entered my room, I glanced out the window one last time, expecting to see something below. However, nothing was there. I shrugged it off. It was possible there never was. I slipped back in my bed, and I fell asleep again. The next day, I was awoken by knocking at my door. I was surprised to find Terrence on the other side. He apparently was ready for me to begin my work as soon as possible. When I checked my phone, the time read 6:30 a.m. It was a real dick move by him. Didn't even wake up this early for my job back home. Reluctantly, I bit my tongue. I told him that I'd be ready in 10 minutes. After getting ready, he led me to the room where he had placed all of my equipment. The room had several old computers inside, like late 90s old. I hope they didn't expect the best performance on these dinosaurs. Nonetheless, I had a job to do. I immediately began setting up my equipment. I was even lucky to have company the whole time. Terrence saw that. Seriously, what's this guy's problem? Eventually, though, the time went by and even he got bored and left me. I was too happy when that happened. The day went by fairly quickly once I really got into my work. Of course, when the meal times came about, I attended them. A few times out of that day, Victoria came by to check on me. She'd forced me to take a break by walking around with her, which I didn't mind at all. Days continued to pass as I worked. each one becoming more routine. Throughout these days, I found myself spending more time with Victoria. I always looked forward to those break times I had with her. We'd walk around just talking and laughing, and most of the time we did so outside. I never thought I'd meet someone like her. A place like this made each day more doable. It's almost like our friendship was becoming more. I didn't mind if it didn't, but if it did, that was even better. There was something that bothered me, though. Every time we were together, it felt as if someone or something was watching us. I couldn't shake the feeling even when I looked around, only to find nothing. I wanted to think nothing of it until one particular evening. After dinner, I came back to my room to find that someone had gone through my stuff. I hadn't transported any of my clothes from my bags to the dresser, feeling too lazy to do so. One of my bags had a Velcro strap to accompany the zipper for reinforcements. I knew I always kept the Velcro fastened. I was rather OCD about it. However, the Velcro was clearly unfastened and hanging loose. The first thought that ran through my mind was Terrence's doing, but I had no proof. It was possible that I was just looking for someone to blame. I never did confirm who it was by my car, if there really was someone. So I couldn't prove that it had been Terrence at all. I decided to look through the bag to be sure nothing was missing. I went through it all to find everything appeared to be there. I could tell my things were moved around a lot, but other than that, nothing. Clearly, whatever the culprit was looking for, they didn't find. I couldn't lie. I was angry that someone had gone through my things. Was it really Terrence's doing? Did he really have something against me that much that he had to do all of this? Maybe I should confront him, I thought. No, the last thing I wanted to do was to start accusing people, which never looked good. I decided to let it slide, just this once. I got into shorts and collapsed onto the bed. And I did so. I felt my head hit something hard. Felt around the pillow, and instead of the usual fluffiness, I felt a hard texture. Someone had stuffed something. I reached inside and I pulled out the object. It was a thick, old leathery book. I brought it over to the lamp on the desk to see it better. The cover looked hand-stitched to the spine. In the light, I could see a symbol engraved across in gold. It was the same one that I had seen everywhere. My hands began to tremble at the sight of this. How did this book get here? Who put it there? Why? I was hesitant, but I slowly opened it. Gave off a peculiar scent, smelling wet leaves and old tree bark. The pages were old and rather fragile. They were filled with text written in black ink. I couldn't comprehend the words. They were written in some strange language. Didn't even look like a language that should have existed. I continued to turn the pages, though, seeing the text flood each one. A few pages in, I came across a picture. It was hand-drawn, limited detail. The picture depicted what looked to be a star. Around the star stood several figures, looking like people. One appeared slightly bigger than the others. I turned the page to find more text. I continued turning until finally I came across another picture. This one showed one of the human-like figures standing on what looked like a pedestal. The other human-like beings stood around the main one. Again, I flipped until I came across the next picture. Now, this picture showed the star from before. It looked bigger, but with squiggly marks shooting away from it. The human-like beings appeared to be cowering in fear, kneeling down at the star, even the big one from before. The picture after depicted the human-like beings falling from the sky, their faces drawn in fear. The one I turned to after showed them drawn in a dark place, their faces twisted in despair. It then showed the human-like figures begin to change into hideous, deformed-like creatures. They had teeth and horns protruding from out of different parts of their bodies. The biggest one looked even worse than the rest, with eyes drawn angrily with sparks coming from its fang-filled mouth. Despite appearing like the drawings of an 8th grader, the images were really disturbing. Something about them made the hair on my neck rise. I wanted to stop, but my hands kept turning the pages, despite my mind's wishes. Despite appearing like the drawing of an 8th grader, the images were really disturbing. Something about them made the hairs on my neck rise. I wanted to stop, but my hands kept turning the pages, despite my mind's wishes. The next one showed one of the hideous beings straying from the others. smaller compared to them. The creature came across a man in the next one. It appeared to reveal a swirl-looking symbol to the man. The man appeared to walk through the swirl. But when he did, the creatures followed. A small child stood in front of the man in the next one. It was weird, but the two looked similar somehow. The creature appeared to possess the child's body, and when it did, the man fell to the ground, presumably dead. Now, on the child's body, the child grew up. As it did, it showed the creature leave the man's body, depicting it underground, possibly sleeping. The man was seen surrounded by many people, with others joining. Eventually, like before, it showed the creature awaken next to the man, showing him yet another swirl. Again, the man walked through that swirl with the creatures following, appearing in front of a child. Once again, it possessed the child, and the man died. The images repeated each time as they did. I noticed the creature's size growing bigger, and finally, I skipped further into the book to see where they led. The images revealed something different this time. Now it showed the man with a woman, the creature standing before her. When I flipped to where the next image would appear, I found its page stuck tightly together to another. I tried to part them, but a tear began to form, threatening to ruin both pages altogether. I decided to skip it and move on to the next image. And my heart dropped when I did.